Hi guys, and welcome back to Crafty Quilting Designs. I hope you're well and you're having a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, night, wherever you are watching this video. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Karen and I make Stash Buster quilts on my video channel. Today I'll be making my last Scrappy Christmas quilt, and this quilt is called a Scrappy Christmas Cross. Now, if you don't know, we had a Christmas sew-along, and this Christmas quilt was called a Merry Christmas quilt. And from that, from those fabrics that was left over, I have then since made 4 projects out of it. So first of all, I made a Christmas table runner. I think it's a braided table runner. From that, I made a Christmas Scrappy couch quilt, and that was absolutely gorgeous. And then I made the Christmas bed runner with the Christmas Scrappy pillows. That was so amazing. I absolutely loved it. I still stare at it and thinking, wow, did I actually make that from scraps? You know, and so today's one is the Scrappy Christmas Cross, and you're going to love this. One thing I have learned is that for making scrappy quilts, it's so amazing to use up all of those fabrics. And not only amazing, but quite rewarding as well, because, you know, from one sort of fabrics that you've bought, you can yield so many other projects from it, and items that you can use and give away as gifts. And it was just so pleasing to do that. I must admit, I had fun using up all of the fabrics to make these projects, but I think I have definitely depleted it now. I don't think there's any more room to make anything else. There's no more scraps left. I've used all that I possibly can. Now with this one, I cut them down into strips or little pieces that I stitched together to actually make up the strips, and this quilt went together very quickly. I would say it took roughly about 45 minutes to an hour to make the quilt, and of course the quilting always takes some time, but the quilt top itself came together quite quickly. So let me take you through, guys, how I actually made it. It's really lovely. I hope you would join me in making a Scrappy Christmas Cross quilt. I mean, you don't have to use Scrappy Christmas quilt. You can use whatever scraps you've got, which is, you know, ideal. It's a quick project, as I said, and if you're rustling around for something quick to do for a quick gift, this is ideal, and you haven't got the fabrics there, you know, just something you can throw together quite quickly. So let me take you through now how I made it, and hopefully you'll join me in doing something like this. So happy quilting, guys, and I'll see you. Hey guys, so today I'm making another Scrappy Christmas quilt, and yes, it's my 4th Christmas quilt for the year so far. And I'm really just, you know, sort of working forward to use up all of my Christmas quilts and just be creative. Well, not my Christmas quilt, but my Christmas fabric, and be creative with it. And so I've been rummaging through all of my scraps here and just using them up as much as I possibly can. I've got another bunch in the corner over there. This one you would recognize. This was actually my yardage, and I'm literally almost done with this particular one. Another one that was actually yardage was actually this one as well, and these were actual prints from at least 2 years ago, I reckon, with Christmas, that I did a Christmas quilt, and these was 2 years ago. Also this one as well is another 2 years ago. So I think I'm almost down to finishing up this one and this one here. However, I am making, as I said, another scrappy quilt, and so I am just going through. I reckon this will probably be the last one, because I think I'm down to like little pieces and stuff like that. And I must admit, it's quite pleasing to be able to use up all of my bits just to create something brand new again from it. And it always reminds me how great scrappy quilts are. But as I said, I'm literally almost down to these sort of triangle bits here, and these were cuts from the original Christmas quilt that I made with the sew-along. But however, let's move forward for today now. I am making squares, just ordinary squares, and I'm just sewing them together. So what I have done is where I have strips such as these bits here and these, any of these bits from actual other cuts is what I'm actually using. I have some end bits here. These got the salvage on it there, so I trim those off. So what I'm going to do is just lay out what I actually want and use them up. So what I tend to do, and I'm sure you've done working with scraps already, but I'll just show you my method. So I usually start with something nice and warm or cool in the middle, and I love using the red because it really brings the Christmas theme together. So wherever possible, I try to use red, either somewhere within the block. This is not a Christmas fabric, but it's sparkly enough, and I do like this particular fabric. It's the last piece of fabric I had from one of my jelly roll. Well, this was my jelly roll strips of cuts that I actually made. So this is what I usually do. So I will sew something like that together. First of all, mix the colors in. I'll probably add that strip there. I try not to put too much blue towards next to each other, so I probably wouldn't do that. Probably will then add, I just saw something that caught my eye, this into there. I try to use as much Christmas piece as possible within the quilt itself. So, and again, most of them are, to be honest, Christmas scraps. So that will, I'll probably start with something like that. I'll probably put that over there and use this bit here on top there, and then I'll go around again just like a well, any other block really. All right, and then I will take it from there. I've got this bit here as well. I try to end in I tried to use my color values, so like, you know, lights and darks, etc., and mediums in between the block to build it up. So I try to end either with a dark. So when I say that, I probably mean a red or a blue. I'll probably end with. And the reason I'm doing that is because these squares are going to be set on point, and I'm going to be using just plain white cotton. It's a very bright white cotton as well, actually, to offset the variation of colors within the fabrics. Now, I have been told that my scrappy quilt don't look scrappy, and that's because I try to neutralize the colors and not go too crazy with it. And I know most scrappy quilts are full of color, but for me, I like to tone it down, and so I tend to use white or sort of a neutral cream that will tone it down. So for example, something like this, I have been cutting them into strips, and I will use it within the blocks themselves, and I will show you. So I've got a few blocks made here already. I'm picking up too much fabric in my hand. So you can see that's a little Christmas red in there. That's the red I was talking about. That's not really Christmas fabric, but it works. That's my Christmas tree there. That's another Christmas brown there, and the green that I've had. This one you've seen most of them, if not all of them, you've seen me use. Again, I've reused the blocks there. So the colors work really nicely. Where possible, I've added on a white strip, just a tiny white strip, to make up the size of my block. And my block size is 9 inches square. This you've seen, this was an extra block that I made for my original Christmas quilt, and I didn't actually use this. This is one of my trial blocks that I did, so I actually trimmed that down to 9 inch square. This one you've seen for my strip piecing, and all I did was frame this one. It looks really beautiful actually. It will make a lovely quilt actually doing it this way. Really, really nice. The colors really complement each other. This one, again, nice, simple. A 4 patch in the middle around the square, white, and I finish with a variation of colors. This one, absolutely lovely as well. And notice that I keep ending with sort of, as I said, mediums at the end, because I really want to offset the white against it. Lots of colors in there, but I think it actually complements each other. This one, again, lots of greens, but it works with this particular fabric here. And these are the things I think about. This was a little strip that I added and had some white, and I decided was to drop that in there also because I think it worked. This one I ended with reds, and it really pops out, this one. The red really pops. But I also like the center blue. It's nice and cool. And then you come up with that cooling effect again. Alright. This one again started with a sort of a warmish, coolish center because I've got the black gold there, and again surrounded by creams, and then the reds, and again finishing with the dark. But it really works. It's a beautiful block. This one was my block again from my Christmas sew along, and it is a I'm sure you can guess what it is. It's a stocking. And so rather than initially I was actually going to cut it up, I thought no, I'm going to pay respect to it and use it as it is, and I just added a red trim on the side here to make up the 9-inch square. So in total I think I made 15 blocks, but I have one more to make. This one here as well, very simplistic, again sort of a reddish warmish center, and I finished with a sort of a light one at the end here, but I still have the offset of darks in the middle there. This one I absolutely love, again that beautiful warm red. You got the Christmas tree really standing out, a nice house in the corner there as well. This one I love the gold on the side there around the sort of a ladder block build that I actually did here. Love that as well. This one's one of my favorite blocks actually. I ended in red, but I love the color in the middle there. Just really lovely. So that's it, literally what I'm doing. So I'm making 15 blocks in total. It's literally going to be a lap quilt. It's not going to be a huge one. So again, going back to this, just start in the middle, keep it nice and warm, and I'm going to build, and I'm probably going to end, but I wouldn't end with this because it's just too light. But this will be my third. So just like, you know, making any block that you would start. Okay, so that's literally my idea of making my squares on point, my scrap squares on point for my quilt. So I'm going to make my last block, and then I will lay it all out, and then I will show you what I've actually come up with. But I think that's probably going to be the last, with all of my scraps laid out here. And I know it looks messy, guys, but the fact that I'm, you know, trolling through it all to get what I want, and as I said, I think I'm literally down to all my last bits now, and that is literally crumbs that I will actually have left over there. So there you go. So let me take you through how I'm actually going to lay it all out, and then I'll come up with some ideas for some borders for this one. But I'm loving the process of making all the scrappy quilts. And what's so amazing, guys, is just this is going to be my 4th quilt from my original fat quarters that I actually bought. Isn't that amazing? Amazing what scraps can actually do. All right, guys, see you in the next one. So I've went ahead and sewn all of the patchwork together. As you can see, it makes a cross in the middle, which is really what I wanted. It looks really lovely. I'm not sure of the size at the moment of the actual quilt top, but it did sew together very quickly. It took me about half an hour to sew all of the squares together. In total, you have 21 of the scrappy patchwork squares and 24 of the white squares, and of course you've got your 4 solid squares and each points of the cross in the middle. I think it looks really lovely. There is a lot of negative space in reference to the white, but I think the quilting will emphasize the beauty of that, and it's an opportunity to do some really lovely quilting in those areas. One of the things I really wanted was to aim at not to make it look like a scrappy quilt, and I think I have achieved that. I do like my scrappy quilts to have some uniformity in them, and not just to be random pieces of fabric placed everywhere, but to also help the quilt to show the beauty of the pieces of each of the fabrics that I've chosen together to make the squares. So I think it has come together very nicely. A lot of the, if not all of my Christmas fabrics has been used. I do not have any more. There is no more Christmas scrappy quilts. I think I've exhausted it all now, and I've completed my objective was to use up all of my Christmas scraps to make my quilts. So in total I've made 4 quilts from all of the Christmas fabric I acquired initially. I love that cross in the middle. It looks absolutely beautiful. Really, really lovely. So these are the 4 solids I'm talking about, and of course 24 white and 21 of my patchwork. As you can see, this one is one of the examples that I demonstrated for one of my previous Christmas quilt, and I just framed that there. A lot of the squares were just squares and squares and squares and then frame, and I tried to use, well, not tried, I used lights and dark everywhere to emphasize, and I also wanted to dot it around the reds so that it emphasized that Christmas look, because red and green does give that Christmas appeal. But it has come together very nicely. Really, really beautifully. I'm loving this block here. Absolutely gorgeous. And again, I did sort of, you know, I did a small patchwork and then I framed it around with another square again. And I did it very different in each of the blocks. Some had more, some had less. I decided was to put this one in the middle because I really love that sort of focus point of the red and being in the middle there. This one is another one that I quite like, and getting the patchwork together and all these small squares here. So very nice, lovely, lovely, lovely. Really happy with how all of the patchwork came out. So the next step now is to get it basted and quilted, and let's see what the overall outcome of the quilt looks like. Really love the square in the middle that makes the actual cross. Absolutely beautiful. So guys, let me get this quilted and then I will show you what the completed look turns out to be like. The quilt top is completed now. It looks really, really fantastic. I think one of the things for me is that scrappy square cross in the middle. You know, it's absolutely gorgeous. It is such a beautiful quilt. This quilt measures 60 by 60, so it's literally a square. And as you know, it's come together very nicely. Let's go in closer and have a look at the quilting. So let's start in the middle there, and I tried to choose the red scrappy square to sort of the center point of the quilt, and you can see I did some triangles with the white squares around. Again, just getting all that focus on that red in the middle there. Most of the quilting I did paisley feathers, and it has come out really nicely, guys. I'm really, really impressed with this. Very, very simplistic, beautiful quilting. Paisley feathers all over with some pebbles as well within the negative space, and I'm referring to the white here. On all of the blue squares here, I just did swirls, as well as all of the patchwork as well. And then obviously, you know, I did a different quilting altogether in the middle here. So yeah, it has come together really nicely. I'm just so loving the paisley and the pebbles in between. Just very, very nice. It didn't take that long actually to quilt it. Making the scrappy quilt is a quick process. So this is my last Christmas quilt, guys. And again, I made all of my Christmas quilts from the same fabrics. Nothing else was bought, and just use up all of my scraps. Literally, I don't think I've got any more left to actually make anything else out of scraps. So again, it just shows how a scrappy quilt can come together really nicely, and whatever leftover fabric you have, whether it's yardage, scraps, or even you know, fat quarters, again, I've used it all up, and from that I yield myself 3 quilts altogether, plus a bed runner and pillow cushions, and plus a table runner as well. So all of that from the leftover main fabrics that I bought for my Christmas sew along. So guys, you know, I do hope that you will go ahead and try something out like this. It is really, really sort of rewarding to see all of your fabrics being used in this creative way, you know, and you have a really fun time experiencing all of your quilting, you know, and really having fun with it. It was really an enjoyable process. I must admit, I really enjoyed making all the scrappy squares. They came together so quickly, using up all of these Christmas fabric. It just came together really, really quickly. There was no issues at all. And as you know, I just started from whatever I had. Look, I was running out here, and what I did is just put white fabric there, a strip of white fabric around this 4 patch here to make up. And as you can see, some of them are actually joined to actually make that strip up. So where possible, I used, this one is not Christmas, but had I not pointed that out to you, you wouldn't have noticed that. Okay, so then you can sneak some of your other ordinary fabrics in there as well. Again, this one is not Christmas, but again, had I not pointed that out, you wouldn't have spotted it. Overall, it does look like a Christmas quilt. It's a Christmas scrappy cross quilt, and I love it. It's going to be very happy for someone to have it to its new Christmas home. So guys, do like and subscribe, and you know, I hope you enjoyed this video and it was somehow rewarding to you, and I'll see you next week for another quilting video. Bye for now, and of course guys, happy quilting.